Well, here we go again. Welcome to the channel, and in today's video, we will be creating a personal portfolio. In this personal portfolio, we will be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's take a look at the project that we will be creating today. This is my personal portfolio, and I will be showing you guys how to make this piece by piece. Okay, and so with that being said, I will say we will not be using my images, so you do not have to worry about seeing my face throughout this entire video. Okay, so I have some stock photos down below in the description and some beginner code so you can go through the entirety of this tutorial with no problems. But let's talk about this personal portfolio of mine, right? I'm gonna refresh the page. As you can see, we have a preloader. I'll show you how to do that. We also have things popping onto the screen. I'm gonna show you guys how to put those animations on your work, as well as this. Look at this button over here to the right. We have a dark mode. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that as well. And as we scroll down the page, we are using the intersection observer to observe as we scroll down the page and these animations happen. As you can see, my first project has now popped onto the screen, and if I hover over it, it zooms up or kind of fades up and in. If I go away, it goes away, right? I'm gonna scroll on down. As we can see, more things are popping into the page, other things are happening, and then you have a what have I done section with other projects in them. Now we can hit this button, view more button, and now we can view more. And we can click in view less, and it changed back to view more. When we scroll down, we see more pictures here. I need to update these pictures, by the way, so kind of ignore those for right now. I want to show you how to get this done because I redid my entire portfolio for the purpose of this video. And now I'm going to share this entire thing with you. So sit back, relax, and let's begin to code. All right, let's begin with creating a folder. So we're going to create a folder here, and we're going to go to new folder. All right, and you can name it whatever you want. I'm just gonna name it portfolio. So just name it whatever you want, and then open that folder with code. Okay, so now you should have VS Code open, or whatever your code editor is. You can use whatever you like, but I love VS Code, and so that's what I'm gonna use in this tutorial. The next thing we're gonna do is create a file here, and that file will be an index.html file. Okay, so now that the index.html file is created, we're gonna go over here and create our boilerplate. So we need an exclamation point, hit enter, and this is the beginning of some great things to happen. This is the boilerplate. The next thing we need to do is import everything that we need to use in order to get this project started, as well as make sure that we have the needed add-ons, and so you can follow this tutorial. The first thing we're gonna do is go over here. We're going to scroll all the way down. We're going to go to extensions. We need 2 extensions in order to follow along. The first thing we need is live server. So let's go to live. And you see here it says live server. You need this right here. Make sure you download this. And you just had download right in here, but I already have downloaded, so it doesn't say that for me. We're going to need that so we can follow along with our code as we're typing, and everything will kind of update while we're doing it. First thing you need to do. Second thing we're gonna do is go over here, and you can use whatever kind of one you want in terms of a code formatter, but this is the one that I use. So Prettier is what I use, by the way. So just throwing it out there if you want to have your code look exactly how mine is looking in this video. Prettier is what I'm using, but you can use whatever. Okay. Now that we have those extensions done, the next thing we need to do inside of this head tag right here is put in the necessary equipment. Let's just say equipment, the necessary scripts and links in order to make all of this work. So the first thing we're gonna do right before that is go over here to the left, and then we're gonna add another file, and this file will be called style.css. Now that we have the style.css, we're gonna go back to index, and now we're gonna import everything here. So let's go ahead right where the meta ends right here, hit enter. And in this space, this is where everything will go. The first thing we'll do is type link, hit enter, everything should be there. And now what we will do is say style.css. From here, we're going to hit enter again, and we're going to say link, and we need another bit of code here. So some more code. That code will come from this website. If you go to Google and type in remixicon.com. Now this website is great because it gives you a lots of different icons that you can use for your projects. And I have recently discovered them, and the website is great. Use them for your icons, man. Why not? What you want to do is go to get started. Okay, so go to get started, and it will take you down here, and you want to scroll a little bit until you see the CDN. It's important. The CDN, you want to copy this. Right here should be a copy button. Hit copy. All right. Now from there, we're going to go back to VS Code. This line, this link, just copy over it. And now I'm going to right click and hit format document, and it's going to format the document to how I want it to look. From there, the next thing we need to do is import some JavaScript scripts right here. We're going to put some scripts. This is where our JavaScript will begin. But we don't have the JavaScript yet. So what we're going to do is go over here, and we're going to create a folder. And this folder will be JS. Inside of the JS folder, we need 3 files. Okay. These 3 files will have specific names. The first one will be called app.js. So app.js. And you can really name these whatever you want, but this is what I kind of like to do. A lot of people have different names, but these names don't really change the functionality at all. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, add another file, and this file will be called project highlights.js. And then we will add another one. It will call other or projects. Let's say projects, just so I can have it kind of flow a little bit. So project others.js, like that. So we got project highlights and project others. Let me rename this. That should say how. Okay, this is highlight. Couldn't see the S right there. All right. Now we have those. We're gonna go back to the index. I'm gonna just take these away for now. So I'm gonna go back to the index. From here, what we're gonna do is add those script tags. So let's go ahead and add those. So script, and here we'll have a source. So source, and it will be js/app.js, like this. And then we're going to say defer. We want to defer. And the reason we want this script to happen after all this HTML is done. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take that, we're going to copy it. And I'm going to go one above because I want the app.js to be the last one to run. If you have a defer, they will go in the order of the script tags. So I just wanted to throw it out there. And I need the app.js will be the base. We need this one to run last. Okay. And so now we can add the other two, the projects, others, and the project highlights. We can add those in here now. So what we're going to do, say slash, and then project highlights. And then we're going to come down one. We're going to say slash project others. Okay. I hope you're following me so far. We're just simply adding everything that we need. The next thing that we're going to do is come here. Right here in the title, you can add your name, but we're going to use a name that is inside of the files that I would provide to you in the description. So look in the description right now. It's a file in there. I need you to download that, and that will contain the base images that we're going to use for this project. And if you want to follow along and use your own images, that is fine. If you want to use your own title, that is fine. But for the purpose of showing you guys how to do this, we'll be using these stock ones. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so here is the beginner files. We have image, text, index.css, and name.text. Okay, so in name.text, this is the name that we're going to be using, the kind of fake name that we're using. And so I copied it, and I'm just going to paste that here. And so Avery Patel. Okay, and so from here, what we're going to do next is go right below the title, and I'm going to say link, like this. And I'm gonna go back a little bit, and I want to change a couple of things. This rel, I don't want it to say style sheets. I want it to say icon, and then I'm gonna say type equals image /x. All right. The next thing we're gonna do is go here, and we're gonna say image /favicon .ico like this. Now the favicon is not here yet, but we do have our temporary favicon inside of our beginner files. So what we're going to do is now import our images into this project. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go to IMG, just take that IMG, slide it over like this, and you want to copy folder. So now we have all the images that we will need. The favicon.ico is right here. And like I said, you can import and use all the files that you have personally. If you want to do that, that's fine. So now we have this. The next thing we're going to do is open up our live server. So right here in the index.html, what I want you to do is right click that and open it with live server. Now your browser should open up. And what we're going to do is go here. And we're going to simply slide this over so we can see everything like this. So now we can see everything here. Okay. And the favicon should already be updated. But as you can see, it's using my old favicon and it hasn't updated yet. That's kind of a normal thing. If I go here, it has this favicon, but it's not updated yet. And so if you refresh a couple of times, a lot of times it'll pop up. So there it is already. So if you're working on something before and it wasn't the favicon, just know that's a normal thing. Okay. And all this is just a simple A. That's all it is. So we're going to go back. And next thing we're going to do is start working inside of the body and get a couple of different things going on inside of here. We're going to add a div. And on that div, we'll have a ID. And that ID will be preloader. And then we'll also add a class, and on that class, it will say preloading. Hit enter, and then right here, inside of the preloader, we're gonna add a few things. We're gonna add an H1, and on that H1, we'll add a class. That class will be loader dash text dash top. Right here, all you need to add is your first name. So in our case, our first name is right now Avery. And so what we're going to do, I want to take this entire line of code and I just want to copy and paste it here. And then we'll only change this right here from top. You want to now change that to bottom. And then you guessed it, you want to use your last name like this. All right. And so the next thing we're going to do is add another div. And on that div, we'll add a class, and that class will be loader-block. And this block will sit on top of the text and the text will kind of load up and around it to kind of give that effect. We'll see that a little bit later. So from here, we're going to right click, and I just want to format this document, or you can use Shift-Alt-F. I just like to right click. I kind of feel like that's a little bit faster, but if you got your hands on the keyboard, that'll be faster. The next thing we're going to do is add another div right below this one. And this div will hold all of our content on the page. The preloader is above it and it'll load and go away, and then the content will be displayed. So on this content, or on this div, we're going to add a ID called content. So right here, we'll say content, and then we'll also add a class, and that class will be loading like this. Next, we're going to add a header in here, and it also have a class, and that class will be called header. All right. And so on this header, we're going to add an A tag, hit enter, and we'll add the href of index.html. Okay. And all that will do is when we click our logo, it's going to just automatically send us right back to the home page, or if you wanted to like add more pages in the future. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is add an image. And on that image, what we're going to do is add a class of logo. So class of logo. And then right here on the source will be img / and then logo, which is down here. And this logo image, all it is just, as you can see on the right, all it is just a typed up or an image of our name. You can kind of use whatever logo you want to. On this alt, we will add logo, and then we'll also say loading, and then put lazy right here. All right. So we have this done. We have the logo right here at the top. The next thing we need to do is work on our nav section. But before we do that, we're going to change a little bit of this and get into the CSS. Okay. So what I want you to do is go to the starter files. So here inside of the starter files, what we're going to do, that style.css, we're just going to replace it. So now just drag this over. It's going to ask you, do you want to replace? And just simply hit replace. Okay. So now you can see the starter CSS, hit minus here. All right. So we have the starter CSS right here, and this is everything that we need in order to get started. We have our colors here. So if you ever want to change the colors of this project, I have the dark theme colors here, the root colors here, and everything that we're going to be using here. HTML font size is 62.5%, and that just mimics and makes rem equals 10. So rem is equals to 10 in this project. I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys would not get confused. And so what we're going to do is scroll all the way down. As you can see, I got a lot of code in here for you guys already set up. But we're going to get into this preloader code right here. So this preloader code, so we can change how these things interact and work. Okay. And so from here, what we're going to do, so we're going to say position, and I want this position to be fixed right here. Okay. Position fixed. The next thing we're going to do, and you'll notice that changes are already happening over here. Okay. So position fixed. And next thing we're going to do, we're going to add a font size, and I want that font size to be 10 rem. Like this, 10 rem. Going to add a color, and the color will be var --bg, and it will be bg color number 3. So bg color 3. Hit enter and add a 3. Next thing we're going to do is add a width, and I want that width to be 100%. We'll also add a top, and that top will be 20 rem. And we'll also add a text align center to align this text in the center of the page. All right. The next thing we're going to do is edit this complete right here. Okay. And so we're going to say opacity. And this is what happens once the loading is done. And we want this to kind of go away. We haven't edited any of the JavaScript yet, so don't worry, but we will soon. But we have opacity, and opacity will be 0. Visibility will be hidden. So visibility, and then it'll say hidden. Next thing we're going to do is add touch action, and the touch action will be equal to none. So you can't touch it or whatever once it load. Next thing we're going to do inside of the loading, we're going to add a opacity, and the opacity will be 0 like this. And you see the top here went away. Next thing we're going to do is add visibility, and that visibility will be hidden. And then we'll add touch action of none, so you can't touch it before it's done. So a touch action of none, and also add a display of none like this, just to be on the safe side. Next thing we're going to do on the load it, we'll add an opacity of 1. We'll add a transition of 1 second. We'll also add visibility here, and that visibility will be visible. Next, we'll add a touch action, and it will be manipulation like that. The loader text top and all this loader text, now we get to edit it. So we want the font size to be 8. So font dash size, and it will be 8 rem. So 8 rem, which is equal to 80 pixels, by the way. Animation, and which you already have these animations done for you, but animation will be preloader, and we'll give it 2 seconds like that. Okay, look at that. It's already kind of animating as the screen refreshes. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add this same thing to our preloader bottom. So just take this code here, and you can kind of just copy and paste that here. But I added 2 different ones because you may want to change those sizes in the future. Okay, next we're going to add that block. So the block will have a position of relative like this, and then the next thing we're going to do is add a background color, and that background color will be equal to var and then dash bg color, the first bg color like this. All right, and so the next thing I'm going to do is change the z index, and this will give that look that is actually behind something. Okay, so the z index will be equal to 1 like this, and then we now need to change the height of it. So now height, and then height will be 100 view height. You just kind of cover the entire page, and now you can see how it kind of comes up and over like it's like hidden under something, and then there it is. Perfect. Now we have all this loader stuff done, but what we're going to do is go back to the index, and I'm going to change something for a second here. So here, what we're going to do is take this class right here, and we're going to simply take it away for now because we don't have the JavaScript to make it load up and appear. And we're also going to take away this preloader for right now. Just comment it out at the top, and it should go away. All right. So now what we're going to do is go back to our style here, and right in the header, we're going to add some CSS for our header. Okay. And so let's go ahead and go into the header, and we need to add a couple of different things. So we need to add a display of flex here. We need to add a justify content. That justify content will be space between. We'll also add an align items. The align items will be center. We'll add a margin of auto. We'll add a padding of 4 rem and 0. We'll also add a width, and that width will be var, and it will be default width. So dash default width, like that. VS Code acts funny sometime when I want to add stuff. There we go. The width of default width. Next thing we're going to do is add a position, and that position will be relative. We'll also add a Z index, and I want that Z index to be 100, and a background color, and that background color will be equal to var, and it will be dash background color. All right. So we have everything we need here. And before we continue to the project, I do want to say that we will be doing all of this in a mobile first view. Okay, mobile first, and then we'll add the desktop stuff later. All right, so next, what we're going to do is go to the logo, and I just want to add a width of 100%, and I'm going to also add a height of 100%, like that. Okay, so now we have the nav stuff to worry about. So we'll go back over to the index.html and begin the nav portion of this content. So right under this A tag, we're going to add our nav, and this will be the desktop nav, but it will be hidden for now. So we're going to add a nav, and we're going to give it an ID, and this ID will be desktop dash nav, like this. And we'll also give it a class, and a class will be nav dash desktop, like that. Hit enter. And then the next thing we're going to do is have a unordered list. So UL, and we'll give that class of nav dash list dash desktop. Hit enter, just like this. And then we'll have our list item. So we'll say LI, and that LI, like this, will have an A tag in it. Hit enter, and the href right here will be hashtag projects, like this. And then inside of here, we'll put this inside of the A tag, and then it will say projects. So projects, like that. And you should start to see some changes over here. And so what I'm gonna do, just get this out of the way for now, and I'm gonna copy this, and I want to add everything that I need. So I need a projects, I need services, I need an about me, and then I need a contact. And then we're going to format this document just to get everything crisp and clean like this. And now all we have to do is simply change the insides of this. So now we can say services here. I'm going to go down, or actually we just go to the right and then add services first. So services here. Next thing we'll do is go to the next one, and we'll say about me. So about dash me, and then here we'll say about me. So about me. Next thing we're going to do is go to the contact. So we'll say contact, and then we'll change it here as well, and to make it say contact, like that. All right. So now this is what we're looking at. And so right below this nav here, what we're going to do is go under it, and then we're going to add a div here. And this div will have a class, and this class will be hamburger dash menu, like that. And so inside of here, we're going to add our icon that will be our mobile nav icon. Okay, so all we need to do is go to remix icon. I'm gonna go to remix icon. Okay, and so on remix icon, we're gonna search for the menu item that we'll be using. And so what you want to do, you want to type in menu right here. And so right below, you can pick between these menu buttons. But for this project, I'm just going to get the first one here, and I'm going to copy it like this. And then you'll see, we'll click it, and then you'll see this line. So just copy that line of code, go back to VS Code, and just paste it here. And it should give us our icon that we just copied. And there it is right there. Okay. And so what we're going to do from here is go to our style.css. So what we're going to do here is go down to where it says nav desktop. And so on nav desktop, we're going to add a display none. So display none, just to get rid of this. All right. Next thing we're going to do is go down to the hamburger menu, and we're going to increase the font size. So we're going to say font size, and font size will be 2 rem. The next thing we're going to do is add a color. So we'll say color, not columns, but color. And on that color, we'll add a var, and we want the var dash dash bg to dash color, like that. All right, just to keep it consistent with all the other colors. Okay, now that we have that, we're going to go back to our index.html. Inside of the index.html, right where the header is, we're going to go below that. So hit enter, and I'm going to go up a little bit. So right outside the header, we're going to add another nav. And in this nav, the ID will be mobile dash nav, like this. And we'll also add a class of nav dash mobile, like that. Hit enter. Another unorganized list, or unordered list. I always say unorganized, but it'll have a class and it will say nav list. So nav dash list, and then we'll hit enter. On this nav list, we're going to have some more list items like this. And if you want to be honest, we can just go up, and you see this, just drag these. So copy these, Control C, and paste them here. Save us a little bit of time because it's basically going to be the same thing. So now we have this nav done. Now let's edit the CSS and get this entire thing looking a little bit better. Let's go to style. And so now in the mobile nav, so here we'll add a position, and that position will be absolute. So absolute position. And on that absolute position, what we're going to do is add a width, and that width will be 100%. Next, we'll add a margin, and that margin will be auto. So margin auto. Next, we'll also add some padding here. So padding bottom, add padding bottom, and that padding bottom will be 2 rem. Next, we're going to add a box shadow. So box shadow, and that box shadow will be 0, and then 4px, 2px, and negative 2px, rbg, like this. And so on this, we're going to change these values. So these values should read, let's change it here, 0, 0, 0, 0.2, like that. Okay. Next, we'll go to nav mobile hidden, which we will need once we get into the JavaScript. But let's go here. We're going to say transform. So transform will be translate y. So translate y. And that translate y will be negative 50 rem. The next thing we're going to do is add an animation. And an animation will be mobile translate close. And then we'll add 0.5 seconds. And we'll add ease in, like this. All right. The next thing we're going to do is go to the mobile nav active. And on the mobile nav active, we will kind of have something similar. But on this, we will say opacity 1. And then we're going to say pointer events all. So pointer events all. Next thing we're going to do is add the visibility and add it to visible. We'll also add an animation. So that animation will be mobile translate open, and it will say 0.5 seconds ease in. All right. The next thing we're going to do is add a transform, and on this transform we will say translate y, and that translate y will be 0 rem, like that. Scroll down a little bit, and so now we'll go to the nav list right here. So let's go ahead and go to the nav list, and we'll add a display of flex. On that display flex, we want to add a flex direction of column, and then we're going to add a gap. So we're going to add a gap, and that gap will only be 1 rem. Next, we'll add a font size. So font size will be 1.8 rem. 1.8, not 6. 1.8 rem. Next, we get into the nav A. On the nav A, which is the A tag, we'll add a color, and on that color, it will be var dash dash primary color, like this. All right. Next, we're going to scroll down a little bit to the nav list item here, and on the nav list item, I'm going to add a display of flex. We're going to add a padding, and that padding will be 1 rem 0. Next, we're going to add a flex direction column. So another flex direction column, a position of relative. We're also going to add a margin, and that margin will be auto. Next, we'll add a width, and I want that width to be var dash dash default width, like that. All right. I like that. Everything is looking good so far. And next thing we're going to do on the hamburger menu hover, let's go ahead and add that as well. So we're going to add a cursor, a pointer, and then we'll also add a color. So that color will be var dash dash secondary color, like this. All right. I think we have all of this done for the mobile nav. Everything looks good. The hover is working, turning blue. All of these are looking pretty nice. All right. With that being said, though, now we want to be able to click this and make this go away. So we are finally about to get into a little bit of JavaScript. All right, so now we're going to go to our JS. So let's go to our JavaScript, app.js, and let's get this out of the way again. And so right here, I'm going to say preloader. We're going to get the preloader working, and then we'll comment it out again. So Control KC, just to give us a little bit of a comment here of what is going on. Okay, so from right here, we want to grab that preloader. So const preloader, like this, and we'll say equals document dot get element by ID. And so we're going to grab that element and we're just going to say preloader like this. Next, we're going to say const, we'll say content just to grab the content, and we'll say document dot get element by ID, and we'll grab that content element like this. Okay, the next thing we want to do is create a function. We'll say const, and this will be an arrow function. So const loading, create an arrow function here. Okay, inside this arrow function, what do we want to happen? We're going to say content, so content dot, and we're going to grab that class list that's in there. So class list dot remove, and we want to remove that loading. So remove that loading. The next thing we're going to do is say content dot class list, and we're going to add one. So dot add, and we'll add loaded. So now it's finished loading. We'll add loaded like this, and then we'll say preloader dot class list dot add complete. So now we're adding that complete class to it. Okay, and right here I did forget one thing. I forgot the equal sign. There we go. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to say window dot onload like this, and onload equals, we're going to have an arrow function here again, and inside of here we want to have a set timeout, and this set timeout will be used to determine how long we want that preloader to stay up there. Okay, let's say 2000 here. This is 2 seconds, by the way. So from here, we're going to say loading and add that function in here. So this function will occur on the window load, like for 2 seconds, and then boom. All right. And so from here, what we need to do is go back to our index. And so right here, let's uncomment this for a second. And then we need to add this class back. We need to add the class of loading here. Okay. So add that class back. And then boom, there we go. Now this is going to look a lot better in a second. You see how it just pops on the screen. It's going to kind of fade in once we get the intersection observer kind of getting all the items and popping them up on the screen. But for right now, that's what we got. So the next thing that we're going to do, which I just noticed, you see that we're missing the little dot here at the end. Okay. And so that's easy to fix. All we have to do is go to the HTML here, and right where you see the loader here at the bottom, we need to add a span. Okay. So on that span, we need to add a class, and that class will be equal to gradient. So gradient, and then heading like this. And all we're going to add in that span is that dot like that. So there it is. Add that dot right there. Now we have the dot going on, and boom. Okay. So for now that we have that working, what we're going to do is just simply take the loading away again, so it won't just continue to go back and forth from that. And then what we're going to do is take this loader here, and we're just going to comment it out again, and we'll add it back later. I just don't want to keep going from loading when we're looking at the content, right? So we got that done. Let's go back to the app.js. So now we need to remove this and have this button work. So if I click this button, it should kind of go up and down in a way. All right. So from here, what we're going to do is type in nav mobile like this, and let's comment it out like that. And let's hit a space here, and we're going to start here in the nav, the mobile nav. So nav mobile, that's fine. That's a good name. So what we're going to do here is grab all our items. So const nav, and then nav will equal document dot get element by ID. No, let's say document.query selector. Document.query selector because it's a class. So nav like this. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is say const mobile nav, and it will equal document dot get element by ID, and the ID will be mobile dash nav. Next thing I'm going to do is say const hamburger menu, so hamburger menu, and it will be equal to document dot query selector. I always want to say get element by ID, but it'll be query selector hamburger menu. Whenever I'm dealing with like classes, I like to use query selector. So next we'll go down here and we're going to say hamburger menu dot add event listener. So we're going to add an event listener here, and this event listener will be a click. So add event listener click, comma, and next thing we're going to do add the brackets here, and so we'll say mobile nav class list dot toggle. And so if you don't know what toggle does, all it does is kind of see if it's there, if it's present, and then it's gonna like just switch in between true and false. So next thing we're gonna do is add nav. So we're gonna toggle this nav mobile dash active. Toggle that class, okay? And so the next thing we're gonna do is add an if else. So we're gonna say if. So if mobile nav dot class list dot contains. So if it contains the nav mobile active, so nav mobile active, nav dash mobile dash active. If it contains this, we want something to happen. So what we want to happen? We want the mobile nav, so mobile nav dot class list dot remove the nav dash mobile dash hidden. Okay, so we want that to happen. If it has the active in it, we want to remove the hidden one. Okay. Else, we're going to add an else mobile nav dot class list dot add the nav dash mobile dash hidden. Okay. So if it doesn't have it, you want to add it. Okay. So what we're going to do next is go over to here, gonna click it, and you see how it goes away, comes back, goes away. Let's refresh the page, and you see it's still there right now. Okay, so now what we need to do is make sure that this is technically hidden at all times. So we want to kind of pretend to hide it. And the way we're going to do that is transform this out of the page and make it show once we click this button. So let's go back to our style, and we're going to go down, or go up rather, to our mobile nav here. So on the mobile nav, what we're going to do is add this. We're going to say transform, and on that transform, we will translate Y. So translate Y, and we'll translate Y minus 50 REM like this. Okay. So now it appears to be gone, but it's still on a page, but you can't really see it. If I click it, now it kind of fades in, fades out. If I refresh, it doesn't pop up weirdly. So that is how you do that. And so now I'll click it again so you can see, and there it is. So now we have officially done the mobile nav. All right, next thing we're going to do is go back to the index.html. And so right here under this last div, what we're going to do is start working on the main portion of this. So we're going to say main. And so inside of main, we'll add a section. And on this section, we're going to add a class, and the class will be called section, like that. I already have that section class done for you guys. I'm going to add a div, and on that div, we're going to add a class and say hero-container, like this. Okay. So inside of the hero container, we're going to add another div. Okay. On that div, we're going to add an h1. So on that h1, we'll add a class, and that class will be hero-text, and we'll add another class that says scroll dash up. Now that scroll up class won't be used until we get into the intersection selection, but it's already done for you as well, or intersection observer. And so from here, what we're going to do is add a span, and the span will have a class of hero dash gradient dash heading, like this. We're going to say enter, and on this we're going to put in our text. So the text will say, I develop products, like this. Okay. I develop products. And then below this, we're going to add another span. And that span will say that inspire and motivate others, like this. Okay. All right. And so what we're going to do next is go below this H1 right here, and we're going to add a paragraph element, and then paragraph will have a class, and that class will be hero dash paragraph dash or space, or another class is a scroll dash up, like this. Okay. And inside of here, I already have some kind of dummy text for you. So go ahead and go into your beginner files and copy and paste that. We're going to go to text, and then we'll go to hero. And so right here, if you want to use it, but then again, you can kind of use your own information here if you want to as well. Here we go with the text. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is go below this div, and we're going to add another div, and it will have a class. It will say hero dash image container. We'll also add a scale in, like this. All right. And so from here, we're going to add an image. Scroll up a little bit. We're going to add an image. And so image will be coming from img slash and the hero image, like this. And then the alt will say hero dash image, or just hero image, whatever one works. Okay. And next thing we're going to do is add a loading, and the loading will be lazy, like that. All right. So now we have all of this, and this has no style to it yet, but you already know we're going to go over to the CSS and begin the styling. So let's go to the CSS, scroll down to the hero section here. All right. So we're going to add a display, a flex. The next thing we're going to do is add a flex dash direction. And that flex direction will be equal to column. The next thing we're going to add is a justify content, and justify content will be space between, like that. Okay. Now we're going to go to the hero text. The hero text will have a line height, and that line height will be 100%. The next thing we're going to do is add a letter spacing, and letter space will be -0.2 rem. The next thing we're going to do is go to the hero gradient, and we're going to add a display inline. Going to also add a padding, and a padding right, and that padding right will be 5px. Next thing we're going to do is add a background image, so background dash image, and then on that background image we'll say linear. But you got to go here, add this. So we'll say linear gradient. On that linear gradient, we'll have 108 degrees. So 108 degree. And then we'll say var. And we're going to add a couple of colors. So var dash dash secondary color. And then we'll say 8%. This, comma. All right. And so I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to add this 3 more times. So all right, so now I'm just going to change these colors and these percentages. So this will be 30%, and the color that we want is the secondary color as well. This next one will be 77%, and this last one will be 91% right here. But we're going to change this right here. The secondary color is going to say dash dash bg2 dash color, like that. So right under this, what we're going to do is add a dash. We're going to say WebKit. So WebKit dash background clip. So background clip, which is right here. And we're going to add it to text, like that. Got to add the original. So we got to say background clip. So background dash clip. And then text again. And then we got to add a dash dash, or just a regular dash. We're going to say WebKit dash text. And then we'll say fill color, and we want to say transparent, like that. Okay. So you notice that this is just white and nothing is happening here. And so this is very particular how you do this and how you set this up. So you can do one of two things. You can hit right click and format the document, or you simply just space and get rid of that last comma. And now it should appear. All right, we are good to go. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is go to hero paragraph and we're gonna add a line height. And that line height will be 150%. The next thing we're going to do is go down here. We're going to say add a font size, and that font size is going to be 2 rem. And we'll also add a margin. So margin, and that margin will be 3 rem 0, like that. All right, scroll down a little bit, give us a little space here. All right, and so the next thing we're going to do on that hero image container, all we're going to do is add margin auto. And then on the hero image itself, we're going to add a padding, and that padding will be 4 rem. We're going to add a width, and that width will be 30 rem. And then we're going to add a border radius, and that border radius is going to be 50%. The next thing is going to be a margin as well, another margin of auto, like that. Okay, so now what we got to do is go back to our index.html. So right here, and then go to this image, and we need to add this class and add hero-image like this. Okay, and so add the hero image, then boom, and there it is. So now the hero image is added. The text here is added as well. So everything is looking nice inside of the hero section. So now we can begin with the next section. So I'm gonna go down here, add another section, and this section will have an ID. And this ID will be called services. And then we're going to add a class of section like this. All right. Next thing we're going to do, add a div. And that div will also have a class. And that class will be services-container. Enter. The next thing we're going to do is add another div. And that class will be services heading, services-heading like this. Enter. And so from there, we're going to add a h5. So that h5 will also have a class. And that class will be gradient dash heading. And also add another class of scroll dash up like this. And so from here, we're going to add services here. So services. And I want to capitalize all of these. So services like this. Scroll down a little bit. Scroll down here. So you see services. All right, and so from here, we're going to add another H5, kind of hit enter here, or not another H5, we'll add an H2. So this H2, heading number 2, we will add a class, and that class will be scale-in, scale-in, like this. And then it'll say helping you solve problems one step at a time, like this. All right, so from here, we're going to add a couple more things. Okay, so under this div, we're going to add our services content. Okay, and so we're going to add a div, and then we're going to have a class services dash content like that. Inside the service content, we'll have a div, and that class will be services list. Okay, and then we need to add some small little circles here just for some style effect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is a div, and then we'll say dash, we'll say services dash circles, and there was another class of scroll up like that. Okay, and so now we're going to add another div, and it will have a class. I always want to type class because I'm talking. But we'll add class, and it will be services dash circles dash blue like this. Don't add anything inside of here. We're just going to take it, and we're going to copy and paste that 2 more times. Okay, so after this, what we're going to do, after this services circles, we're going to add a div, and this div will have a class, and this class will be services dash list dash heading. And we'll also add another class of scroll dash up like that. Wait, enter. So right here, we're going to add H3. And on that H3, you're going to say what I can do for you. So what I can do for you, like this. And right below that, we're going to have a paragraph tag, and then we're just going to say text. We're going to fill this in with the text that I have already provided, or you can fill your own text in right here. Okay. So below this div right here, we're going to hit enter. And then now we need to add an unordered list with a class, and that class will be services list. So services dash list dash items, and then another class of scroll dash up. Hit enter. I'm going to add some list items, and then we'll say items here. And then we're going to simply take this, copy and paste it 3 times here. And I want to format this document from this document. There we go. And so from here, you can see we have a heading, text, and then we have some items here. Okay. So what we're going to do is now simply go to where it says services list, take that services list like this, copy it, and then we're just going to paste it 2 more times like that, just to save some time. And then you see I got it 3 times. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? So we're going to change these what can I do for yous, and we're going to change the second one here. What can I do for you? And then I'm going to change it to applications. I am fluent in like this, or you can say I'm applications I'm fluent in like this. Okay, applications I'm fluent in. And then the third one here, we're going to say what you expect. So what you can expect. Okay, there we go. So now we have these 3. What can I do for you? Applications I'm fluent in, and what you can expect. So from here, we need to fill in these items, and I have provided the dummy text for you. So I will do for you the fluent and what to expect. So just take these and you can copy them in, and I'm not going to just show it. I'm going to just go ahead and do it so you guys can see it done, so we can save some time. All right, now that we have all that done, I'm just going to format the document so it can look better. And like I always say, you can just use your own information here if you would like, but the dummy text is provided for you if you need it. So let's go ahead and go to the styling of this section. All right, so before we continue, I see that I made an error. Services should have a C. So right here should be services list like this. So we're going to take all this services list, and then we're simply going to just copy and paste and fix those divs. So right here, services list should be services list. And then you scroll up some more right here, services list should be services list. Okay, now that we have the services list fixed, one more error, and I'm sorry about this, but simple small things can mess up entire code. This right here, this shouldn't be an S, and I wouldn't worry about it, but I already have the classes in, so I'm just going to go ahead and change it. So make those services circle, not services circles from the S. And so we're already going to have to change this one anyway. I had to change this one to black, and that wasn't an error. That was on purpose. I wanted just to paste the blue in and then change it to black. Okay, and so I'll go ahead and take the S's off of here. All right, so there we go. So now we're ready to go and edit the style. So let's go to style, and so we'll go to the services container. And so inside of the services container, we need to add a few things. We're going to add a display, and we're going to add a display flex. Then we'll add a flex direction, and that flex direction will be column. Next, we'll go down to the content. Inside the content, we're going to add a display box. So all we need is display box. Next thing we're going to do inside of the heading, we're going to add a margin, and that margin will be a margin bottom. That margin bottom will be 1 rem, and we'll also add a text align center. So text align and then center like this. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is add a services. The services list heading will have a text. Take the S off, text align, and then it will be left. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is edit the services list. Okay. And so the services list will have a font size, and that font size will be 1.6 rem. Okay. And so from there, we're going to add a line height, and that line height will be 3 rem. The next thing that we're going to do is edit the services LI. Let's slide down a little bit. Okay. And so on the LI, all we're going to change is the color. So we're going to say color. We say var dash T color. So that right here, I'll just say T instead of pronouncing the word. The next thing we're going to do is edit the services list items. And so all we need is a display block. We'll go to the services circles right here. And so right here, we'll add a display flex. So display flex. Going to add a justified content, and that justified content will be center. Next, we'll add a line items. That align items will be center, and then we'll add a margin, and that margin will be 2 rem like that. Okay. Next, what we're gonna do is go down here, and we'll add the color for this and the height and the width. So width will be 2 rem. Height will also be 2 rem. Going to add a border radius, so border radius, and that border radius will be 50%. Next, we're going to add a background color, and that background color will be var dash secondary color. And so next, we're going to change the opacity. The opacity will be 0.9, and then we're going to add a margin, and that margin will be 0.1 rem, like that. So now we have the blue dots already ready, but now we got to add the black one right here. So just take this code, copy it, paste it into the services black, and then just simply change this color. And so this color will now be dash, and then we will make it primary color like that. And then boom, now we have this part of the project done. Scroll down, everything looks nice, and now we can continue with the next section of this project. So from here, we're going to go to the index.html. We're going to scroll all the way back down, and right here at the section, the end of that last section, we're going to add a section, and we're going to add an ID to it. That ID will be projects. All right, and so inside of the project section, we're going to add a div, and on that div, we're going to add a class. That class will be projects dash heading, like this. Hit enter, and inside of here, we want to add an H5. That H5 will have a class of gradient heading. So gradient dash heading, like this. All right. Inside of here, we're going to add projects. I have to capitalize all these. You don't necessarily have to, but we're going to keep it capitalized here. Scroll down, see what we have. So right here, the project section. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is add an H2. On that H2, all we're going to say is I deliver quality. So H2, and then we'll say I deliver quality, like that. All right. So from here, what we're going to do is add another div, and this div will be outside of this last div here, and we're going to add a div, and when the div have an ID, and the ID will be project dash highlights dash container. Enter, like this. All right. Now inside of this, we're going to add another div, and it will have a class, and that class will be projects dash container, and we'll also add another class called nth dash capital PG, like this. All right. Hit enter, like that. Next thing we're going to do is add another div, and that div will have a class of project highlight content. So project dash highlight dash content. Hit enter. All right. And so inside of this, we're going to have an A tag. And on that A tag, what we're going to do is go to the beginner files, and we're going to go to the text right here, and we'll go to the project one. So go to project one. You can just take this. If you need a placeholder for now, just take this code, this link, and then paste it in right here. Okay. And then on the side of this A, we're going to go on the other side, and we're going to say target, and then we'll say blank, like this. And what that does is if we click that link, it'll just take us to another screen instead of staying on the same page. It'll just take you to another tab. Okay. And so what we want to do is wrap everything else inside of this A tag. So let's scroll over a little bit. We're going to have a div, and on this div, we'll have a class, and the class will be project dash title. And so inside of the project title, we're going to have an H5, and the H5 will simply say project highlight. All right. And so under the H5, we will add an H3. And on that H3, we're going to add a class. And that class will be project-name. All right. And so this is where the name of your project will go. And so we're going to go back to that file. And right here, we have the name of the prop project, Adonis. We're going to paste that in right here. All right. And so under the H3, or under this div right here, what we're going to do is hit enter, and we're going to add another div. And this div will have a class of project details. So project dash details, enter. And so inside of here, we'll have a paragraph. All right. And so inside of this paragraph, grab the last little piece of our text here. And so we're going to just simply drag this, copy it, and then just paste this inside of this tag here. All right. There we go. I'm gonna hit enter just to make it kind of look a little bit better. All right. And so under this p tag, what we're going to do is go, well, under this div, what we're going to do is hit enter, and we'll add another div. All right. And so this div will have a class of project dash tools and another class of nth dash capital PG, enter, like this. All right. And here we're going to have an unorganized list, unordered list, and we're going to add a couple of list items here. And these list items will simply be all of the tools, all of the technologies, all of the languages that you used in this project. And so we're going to just simply add some off the top of my head here. I'll provide some inside the starter files here. But right now we'll just say for all of these, we simply just say HTML, CSS, let's say React, and we'll say Node.js. And we'll use those for all of the projects that we're going to be using. Okay. But I'll show you guys how to generate those with JavaScript in a little bit. All right. And so under this div, what we're going to do, hit enter. We're going to add another div, and we're going to add a class. We'll say project dash links. And then we have another class, say nth dash capital P and capital G. I'm going to hit enter here. And we're going to add 2 A tags here. And these A tags will send you to the links. But let's hit A, enter. And right here, this will be your GitHub link. And then the other link will be the link to the project. And so right here, all I'm going to say is github.com. And then inside of this A tag, what we want to do is get the GitHub logo for this. Before we do that, I'm just going to simply copy this A tag and then paste it here. And I'm going to format the document. And I'm going to scroll up and take this link here because this is basically a link to the project. Take that link here, copy it down, and add it right here. And I guess one thing I should have done was say target equals blank before I copy, because that was the whole purpose of me copying it down. So if you do that, good job. Target equals blank. Okay. And so inside of this A tag, what we're going to do is add our images from Rapid or Remix icon. So let's go to Remix icon, and they have the icons that we need right here. I'm going to say GitHub. So GitHub, and it has the GitHub logo. Use whatever one you want. I'm going to pick this one here. Click it, copy, and I'm going to paste it right here inside of this link right here. And then we need like something that says website. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get like a world logo, a global logo, kind of like this. And I'm going to copy it. If you find a better one, that's fine as well. And I'm going to paste it inside of the A tag here. All right. So now that we have done that and we have this done, and one thing I've noticed is that this A tag, this right here, I'm going to eliminate that one, and I want this A tag to end under the title. So paste that A tag right here under this div, and then format the document. I only want this A tag right for the top portion of this right here. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is go back to where we deleted that A tag, kind of space it and get our spacing back correct. Okay. The next thing we need to do is add our product image here. And so under this second div, what we're going to do is hit enter. And so now we can add our image. So we're going to say div, and let's go ahead and go back to the project here. All right. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So we added that div, and Now we need to add a class, and that class will be project-image-content. All right. And so inside of that, we're going to add an A tag, and an A tag will be something that we already use. So what I want to do is simply go up and just take this right here, copy it, scroll back down, add the A tag here like this, and it should automatically give you the end of the A tag. So there we go. All right. Now inside of this A tag, I want to add a few things. I keep having to go left to right. Here we go. So inside of A tag, we're going to add the image. And inside of that image, we're going to add a couple classes. So let's go back here. We add a class, and the class will be project-image, like this. And then the source will be image/Adonis right here. And then the last thing we'll add is project image, and we'll say loading lazy. All right. And so now we got all of this done. What we're going to do is kind of space that out so everything will look clean and concise here. All right. And so we have this done. What we're going to do now is look at this, and you can see that that image is here, but we need to style all of this and make everything look better. So now we can begin with the styling of our project section. All right, so next we'll go to the style.css, and we are in the project section right here. So we're going to start adding our CSS. So the first thing we're going to do is add display grid, and then we're going to add a margin of 3 rem, and then we're going to add a position of relative. Okay. Next, in the project heading, we're going to add a margin bottom. So margin bottom, and that margin bottom will be 3 rem. We're going to add a text align center, and then we're going to go to the project highlight content, which will add a display flex. All right. And on that display flex direction will be set to column. And then we're going to add a box shadow. So this box shadow has some very unique things. So we're going to say 010 px, 15 px, minus 15 px, and we'll say var that's primary color. All right. Next thing we're going to do is add some padding, and that padding will be 3 rem. All right. And next on the list, we'll say grid area, and that grid area will be set to 1/1/-1/7. All right. Next thing I'm going to do, add a z index, and z index will be set to 10. Okay. Good deal. Next, we'll go to the project title. And so on the project title, we're going to add a couple of things as well. We'll say text, decoration, and we're going to say none. The next thing we'll add is a color, and that color will be var, and it will be -- primary color. Primary color. There we go. Next, on the project name, we will add a margin, and let me scroll up a bit like this real quick. All right, and that margin will be 0.5 rem 0. Okay. Next on that, we'll add a font style, and that font style will be italic. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is add a color, and the color will be var -- secondary color. Secondary color. Good deal. Next thing we're going to do is add some to the project detail, and all we're going to say here is a margin, and that margin will be 3 rem 0. Okay. The next thing we're going to do on the details paragraph, we add a line height, and that line height will be 150%. Next, we'll add a color, and the color will be var -- primary color. All right. Next thing we'll do is add opacity. Does it kind of make it look like a little gray? It's not really gray, but it'll be 0.7. We got to go back at this semi here. There we go. All right. Now let's go to the projects tools. All right. This is the unorganized or the unordered list. And right here, we'll add a list style of none. So list style, not disk, none. All right. List style of none. Next, we're going to add a display, and that display will be flex. And then we're going to add a flex wrap. So flex wrap will be wrap. All right, now we're going to go to the list item. And so the list item will say font size. The font size will be 1.3 rem. Next, we're going to add a padding right. So padding right, and then padding right will be 0.5 rem. Next, we're going to add a color, and that color will be var dash dash primary dash color. Next thing we're going to do is add a margin, and that margin will be 0, 1 rem, 0.5 rem, and 0, just like that. The next thing we're going to do is go to the project links. On the project links, we'll add a display flex. On the display flex, we're going to justify content, and the justify content will be flex start. Next thing we're going to do is add a align items, and that align items will be center. We're going to add a margin top. The margin top will be 1 rem. We're going to add a font size, so font dash size, and the font size will be 2.1 rem. Next, we'll add a z index of 10. Okay, a few more things left here. We're going to go to the a tag, and on that a tag, we're on a color, and the color will be var dash dash primary color. All right, next thing we're going to do is add a padding, and the padding right. The padding right will be 1 rem. Now we go to the hover of that, and the hover will have a color, and the color will simply be var dash dash secondary color. Secondary. Give me a hard time. All right, next thing we're going to do is go to the links of the button, and we're going to add a color to it, and that color will be var dash dash secondary color. It chooses when it want to work right. There we go, secondary color. Next thing I'm going to do is add a cursor pointer, and then we're going to add a z index of 10. All right, now we get to that image, and that image will be position relative, and then it will be grid area, and the grid area will be 1, 7, -1, and a -1. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is add a z index, and a z index will be 1. We're going to add opacity. The opacity will be 0.1, and it will add a background color. The background color will be var dash dash secondary color. Just going to type it out this time instead of hitting enter. And then we're going to add a border radius, and that border radius will be 1 rem. And for the project image, we're going to add a position of relative. And after the position relative, we'll say width, and the width will be 100, not 12,000, but not 1200, but 100. And it will be object fit, and it will be fill. The next thing we're going to do, add opacity of 0.5, and then we're going to add a height of 100 like this. All right. Okay, so now if we go over here, as you can see, the project is sitting behind this text right here. Okay, it's just sitting behind the text, and if you want to, you can increase that opacity a little bit depending on how your projects are, but right now we'll just leave it on 0.5. But you can see the project behind this. Everything looks good so far. You can see that project behind this image, and if I click Adonis here, it should take us to Dribble and take us to where I got this image from. Right, let's go back. Okay, so we have that done. We have the styling finished. Everything looks nice and ready to go. Now what we want to do is generate these using JavaScript. So let's go ahead and get into that board. So it should work now. Okay, go project highlights. We're good. All right, now what we're going to do is select the project highlights JavaScript file. Let's go back here. Now we're going to write some code. So let's say const projects container, and that project container we're going to say equal document dot get element by ID, and then we're going to say project dash highlights dash container, like that. All right. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to add our projects here, and we're going to add these projects inside of a array object. Okay, so let's say const projects data equals an array. Okay, inside of that array, we're going to be adding some objects here, and we're going to give these objects some different properties. So we're going to say project name like this, and let's keep it empty for now. We're going to say image, and so this will basically be the link. We'll just say image. Let's have that empty for now, and then we're going to say details, and this will be the details of our project. Leave it empty for now. We're going to say tools like this. Also leave it empty. Well, actually, let's go ahead and put, it's going to be an array like that, and then we're going to say website. So website like this, and let's leave that empty as well. Okay. And so this is data right here. We are simply going to copy it a couple times. But before we do that, inside of the tools, since I said all the tools will have the same thing basically for this project, we're basically going to put HTML here. And I want these capitalized. So this is HTML. Let's say CSS. We're going to say React. And then we're going to say Node.js. So Node.js like this. Okay. And so from here, what we're going to do is simply add a comma, and then we're going to copy and paste this data. So hit enter and paste it 3 times. Take away that last comma. Okay. So we're going to loop through this project data, and anytime you want to add a project, you're just going to fill this out and just continue to add your projects as you get more and more projects. Okay. And so from here, what we're going to do is add the names of all of these. So we're going to go back to that file that we had here, and we will simply going to fill in this information. So like right here, we have dribble. Let's take this entire thing, and we're going to add the website here. So add that website. We're going to grab the details here. So grab the details here like this. And then we're going to take the name, and we know the name is Adonis. So Adonis, got cap locks on. So Adonis like this, right? And then from there, what we're going to do is add the image. So right here, you want to add the image link. So the image link for Adonis, I think it's just img/Adonis like that. Adonis. And so what we're going to do next, it actually should be .jpg, I believe. And we make sure that's correct. So we look here and we go to the image. Source is img/diamond. It's not that, it's a .webp or webp. And so let's go back and we're going to paste it here. So just make sure you get the correct image. So there it is, popped up on the side. That's right. So get the image link. And so after you do that, everything is done. Now, if you go back to that file that I gave you, go back to the file, we go to text. I have project 1, 2, and 3 in here. So we're just going to take these and we're going to paste the rest of these inside of here. So let's take this, we'll copy it here, and this one goes into details. And then we're going to take the link, copy it, paste it inside of the website. We're going to also get the image, and I think that is img/, let's get the right image this time. So img/, this is the CoinVest. So CoinVest is right here, and it's the same thing. It is coin, not boing, but coin, and then vest.webp. Okay. There it is, pops up on the side, and then the project name is CoinVest, like that. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next project and do the same thing. So you want to come here, just take this project, take the entirety of this right here. And while I'm doing this, you can be filling in your own information if you already have that available. So we're going to say details here. I must have a comma in here. So if that's the case, I mean, I must have these ticks. So add a double tick here, and there we go. Now everything should be good to go. And the double ticks. Okay. Image should be img/, and this project is this ewpay or epay, ewpay.webp, like this. Okay. And then the project name is ewpay. Okay. So I don't know if that P is supposed to be capital, but that just kind of, like, I don't know. I kind of like that better. But anyway, we're going to get the website. And I feel like it might shouldn't be capitalized. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but we're going to go back. I'm just going to keep it like that. Okay. All right. So now that we have this data built out, let's go ahead and minimize this. What we're going to do next is go down here, and we're going to add a const project, and we're going to say highlights with an S equals project data. So we're going to take project data dot map, and then inside this map we're going to say data, add an arrow here, curly brackets, and then here we're going to say const tools list equals data dot tools dot map. Inside this we'll say tools, add an arrow and curly brackets here, just like that. And what we want to do is immediately return something. We're going to immediately return, and we're going to return, we're going to have backticks, li, $, like this. We're going to say tools, and then we're going to have li here and close it off. Okay. So this will get inside of this array and break all these down and create a list item for each one of those. Okay. And so that's what we'll do for that. And so now we're going to go outside of this, and we're going to have a return, and we're going to have a backtick. Okay, now it's important that you listen to this step because it is very vital that you do, right? So what we're going to do is go back to the html.css, and I want to make this full screen for a second. And so you see all of this content here. And so all of this content from this ID. So I want you to drag all this content. I want you to copy it all the way down to this div here. Okay, not the last div, but this div right here. I want you to copy it, and then I want you to comment it out. All right, there we go. So now that it is commented out, let's go back. And so it should be gone. All you should see is I deliver quality and something blank here. And so that copy, I want you to take that copy, and I want you to paste it inside of this return. So paste that copy inside of the return like that. And so now what you want to do is backspace this a little bit. And what we're going to do from here is take this, and I wonder if I can format. Sometimes you can format the document here, sometimes you can't. And yeah, so it doesn't format, so that's fine. But anyways, we're going to go down here, and we're going to append this text to our document here. So what I want you to do is say projects container dot insert adjacent HTML. And so right here, this adjacent HTML, we're going to say after begin, you want to have a comma, and you're going to say project highlights right here. And then you'll say dot join. And so on the join, we're going to have ticks, and you want to do this because it'll get rid of those ticks. Okay. And so now you scroll down, it should generate all of the content that is inside of the array, but we have to change some things. You see it has 3 because we have 3 items in the array, but it will not generate each content individually because we need to change it in here. So for now, what I want to do is bring this to full screen, and we simply have to change the content in here. And there's a couple of different things we have to change. Okay. So like this link tag, this is the first thing we're going to change. And I want you to take this link, delete it. I want you to say $, curly brackets. And on this, we're going to say data dot website here. Okay. And so now we're going to scroll down a little bit more, and the name Adonis, we're going to take that away. We're going to put $, going to say curly brackets, and we're going to say data dot project name. So we're going to get the project name for each one of those. And then we're going to scroll down a little bit more inside of the details, take away this entire P element here. And so inside of this $, we're going to put data dot details here. All right. Inside of this unorganized list, we're going to take this entire thing out. We're going to say $. And here, this is going to be the tool list dot join. And so we're going to add something else. We're going to say replace all because it should have, actually, I'll show you. So you can learn a little bit. Let me scroll down. You see these little commas here that it has? It has these little commas here right there. We need to eliminate those. I'm going to show you how to do that. But you see, we already got UPay, Coinvest, and Adonis already right here. Okay. So it's working. But anyway, I'm going to go back to full screen. So what we're going to do is say join. We're going to put them together, and then we want to replace all. So dot replace all like this. And so inside replace all, we're going to put a comma. We're going to replace the commas with something. And we're going to replace those commas with a blank space like this. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is go down inside this, like this GitHub link right here. And actually, I forgot one thing. I'm sorry about that. Right here under the tools or under the website, we need to add GitHub here. Sorry about that because we didn't really use GitHub, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to say git.com. Okay, so add comma. If I didn't think about that one because we really don't have any GitHub links here, but there we go. All right, so we added the GitHub. And so now on the GitHub link right here, just take it, add your personal GitHub link. But for now, we're just using github.com and just say data dot and then GitHub, which is right here. The next thing you got to do is take this a tag and do the same thing, but we're going to use the website again. So data dot website here. And then we're going to do the same thing down here on this content. We're going to get this. So we're just going to copy this part, take away this, paste it. All right. And then the image, we're going to do the same thing for the source of the image. And we'll say, I'm just going to paste it and change this. So right here, data dot image. Okay. So now we have all of this being generated from this object array. And you can just continue to add, and you can add as many as you would like inside of your highlights. So let's go ahead and go back here. And so now you can see, it says Adonis, say CoinVest, which in here we need to change. And I see that's my mistake right here on CoinVest. I got the dribble. If you caught that earlier, shout outs to you. If you caught that already, I need to change that. So let's go to project 2 and get this right here, copy, and then just paste that in here. All right. And then I'm going to go back and check, make sure everything is good. Now that we have all that working, let me go ahead and test the link here. Click that and it takes you to CoinVest on ePay. So I got the wrong, let me go to the links here. ePay is the wrong one. Change this. All right, had to go and get the correct link. I got it now, so it should be updated on your end already. And so what we're gonna do now is bring it back and look at how we have this app running. Make sure all these work. This takes you to CoinVest. Perfect. This takes you to this. All of these are GitHub. So if I click GitHub, can I get github.com? Okay. Change this. So I think I need to say https:// that should work. Yep, got the underline under it now. So just change all those to HTTP and we should be up and running with all of those. Hit GitHub again and it works. Okay, perfect. Make sure you put the HTTPS. All right, so we have that section done. And now we need to go to the more projects section inside of index.html. I'm gonna scroll down in this section right here. Now we're gonna add the more projects right here. Okay, so right here, we're gonna add another section. And under that section, we're gonna add a div with a class. That class will be other-projects-container. All right, and so inside of this, we'll add another div, and that div will have a class of projects-heading. And then below that, we're going to add an H5 and an H2. So let's add the H5. That H5 will have a class of gradient heading dash heading. All right, and so right here, we're going to say other projects. So we can just put it here. Well, actually, do it like this. So we're going to say other projects with that capital, other projects. Like this. All right. So under the H5, what we're going to do is add an H2. And right here, let me get rid of this so we can see some more lines here. All right, that looks a whole lot better. And so this H2, we're going to add a class, and then the class will be scale in. So scale dash in. And these classes, the scale in and all these kind of active classes will make sense once we get into the intersection observer. All right, so what we're going to do now is going to say what I have done, like this. All right, scroll down a little bit. So here we go, other projects, what I have done. That's what you should see here. Okay, and so the next thing we're going to do is go outside of this div and go here. The next thing we're going to do is add a div, and we're going to give that div an ID. And that ID will be other dash projects dash content dash container. I know that's a lot. You're going to add a class, and that class will be other dash projects dash content, like this. Okay, so inside of this we're going to add our project code. Okay, our other project code. So we're going to add a div, and on that div we have a class. That class will be other dash project, like that, and then we'll add another class will be scale in. So scale dash in, like that. Okay, other project and scale in. So scale in, like that. Okay, so from right here we're going to have an a tag, and on this a tag we'll leave that ref blank, but we're going to say target equals blank. Okay, and inside of here we're going to add a div, and that div will have a class of other dash project dash icons. And so right here what we're going to do is add an icon. So we're going to go back to remix icon, and then we're going to add like a file or something like that, or a folder. So we can look here, and you can choose any of these. I think I'm gonna choose this one. I didn't even use this one in my project. I think I used like this one right here, but I kind of like how that one looks, so I'll use that one for this video. So we're gonna paste that over. The next thing we're going to do is go below that. We're going to add another div. All right. And so on this div, we're going to add two a tags. So the a tag here, and then we're going to go out, leave that blank, and we'll say target equals blank, like this. All right. And so inside this a tag, what we need is the GitHub. So right here, we'll go to GitHub, or type in GitHub like inside of remix icon, and then grab either of these icons that you like, copy the link, go back over, paste it. All right, and so now we'll go below that line, which honestly, I'm just going to take it, I'm going to copy it, and just replace what I need to replace. Is format the document so everything can look nice and clean. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is just change this right here, and we're going to put like the world tag or whatever you use for internet. So world, we'll copy that icon here. All right, and so inside of here, what we're going to do is just paste it. All right, and so now we have the global and we have the GitHub. So I'm gonna scroll down. You should see those down here. No styling yet, but that's fine. All right, so from right here, what we're gonna do is take this. I want you to cut it, and I want you to paste it inside of this. I want all of this inside of one thing. All right, and so you should have two divs under here. So this and then here. Sorry about that. Should have did that earlier, but here we go. Next thing we're gonna do is add an H4 right here. Okay, so we're gonna add an H4, and we're gonna say title of project right here. That's where the title of the project is gonna go. And then right here we're gonna add a p tag, and we're gonna say text, like that. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is add an unordered list, and right here actually it should have a class. So unordered lists, and gonna have a class of other dash tools, like that. And I'm gonna have list items here. And so for now, I'm just gonna say HTML, and this will be what you use in the projects. I just said HTML, CSS, like that. All right. And so now all we have to do now is get this all styled up. I believe we are done with this for now. So let's go ahead and work on the style of this and get it ready to go. So let's go to the style.css, and from here we're gonna go down to the other project container. We're gonna have a display of block. Next thing we're gonna do is add a display, and the display will be grid. Under the grid, what we're gonna do is say grid template columns, and it will be repeat. And so inside of here we'll say autofill, and then the autofill will be a min max, not a min width, but a min max, like this. And then min max will be 25 rem, and then it will be 1,1 fr, like that. Okay, and then under this we'll add a gap, and that gap will be 1 rem. Then we'll add a margin, and that margin will be a margin bottom, and that margin bottom will be 5 rem. Next thing we're going to do is go down, and right here at the other project, we're going to add display. That display will be flex. Next, we'll say flex dash direction, and that flex direction will be column. Let's say padding, and then on the padding, we want to add a 3 rem. Next, we'll add a box shadow. And so on this box shadow, we're going to say 0, 2px, 7px, negative 7px, and then we'll also have the color of var, and on that color var, it'll be primary color. That's color. Okay. So now we're going to add a border radius. So on that border radius, the border radius will be 2 rem. Scroll down a little bit. Now, right here at the H4, we're going to add a font style. So font style, and that font style will be italic. Here it will be a color, and on that color it will have bar. It will be dash dash secondary color, dash color, like that. Okay, right here on the H4 hover, we're going to simply add a color, and that color will be var dash dash primary dash color, like this. Next thing we're going to do, I'm going to slide down a little bit more. On the project hover, we're going to add a cursor, and that cursor will be pointer. Next thing I'm going to do, add a transform. So transform, and it'll be translate y, and that translate y will be negative 1 rem. And we're going to add a scale 3D, and that scale 3D will be 1, 1, 1. So next, we're going to add a transform style. So transform, and then we'll say style, like that. And so on that transform style, we're going to add a preserve 3D. Also, what we'll do under that is add a color. And on that color, what we're going to do is add bar, and it'll be dash dash secondary color, dash color. All right. And so here we'll add a transition delay. And so on that transition delay, so right here at delay, let's say 250 ms, like that. Okay. So we got that done. Next, we'll go down here. Let me scroll up a little bit more. And there we go. The other project icons. And so on the other project icons, we'll add a display. And that display will be flex. All right. And so we're going to add a font size of 2.5 rem, like this. The next thing we're going to do is add a justify content. And that justify content will be space between. The next thing we're going to do is add a margin bottom. So margin bottom, like this. And the margin bottom will be 2 rem. Next, we'll add a color, and that color will be var dash dash secondary color, secondary dash color, like this. All right. And so under the icons with the A, we're going to just add a color, and that color will be var and primary color. So dash dash primary dash color, like that. All right. So next, on the child 1 right here, we'll add a color, and on that color, we'll add a var dash dash secondary color, secondary dash color. Next, on the hover, we'll go down, and so here we're going to add a color, and that color will also be dash dash secondary color. And on this, we'll add a cursor, and that cursor will be equal to pointer, like this. Now we go to the other tools, and so right here on other tools, what we're going to do is add a font size. So font size, and that font size will be 1.6 rem. Next thing I'm going to do is add a list style, and that list style will be equal to none. Next thing we're going to do, add a display, and that display will be flex. We'll say a flex wrap. So the flex wrap will be equal to wrap. Next, we'll add a margin top. So margin top will be 2.5 rem. Next, we'll add a color, and that color will be var dash dash primary dash color, like that. All right. Next, let me scroll down a little bit on other tools right here. And so on other tools, LI, what we're going to do is add a padding, and that padding will be 0, 1 rem, 0, 0, like that. Okay. And we'll also add a color, and that color will be equal to var dash dash T color. Okay. Next thing we'll do on the view more button. So right here on the view more button, what we'll do is add a display, and that display will be equal to flex. Next, we're going to add a justify content, and on that justify content, we'll say center. On the hide project, we're going to change the visibility to hidden, like this. Next, we're going to add a transition delay. So transition delay, which is right here, and the transition delay will be 200 ms. Next, the pointer events. We'll say pointer events. I'm going to say none. Next, we'll add a transform. On that transform, we'll say translate y and translate y 20 rem. Next, we're going to add a position, and that position will be absolute. And we're going to say left negative 9999. Okay, px. All right. So now we're going to go back to the index.html, and we're going to add 2 buttons because one was forgotten. So what we're going to do is go right under this div. We're going to go here and we're going to add a div. Okay, on that div, we'll have a class, and that class will be view-more-btn. And we'll also add another class of margin-1. All right. And so in this class, we're going to add a tag, and that a tag will have a class of btn. And so what we're going to do is take away this part here. And so inside this a tag, we're going to add a div, and this div will have a class. I mean, not the div, but this button. The button will have a class, and that class will be btn, and another class of scroll dash up like this. Now we're going to add a span here. So we add a span, and that span will have an ID, and that ID will be view btn. Make sure you capitalize the B, hit enter, and it'll say view more like this. All right. And so below the button, I'm going to add another span. And so on that span, it will have a class, and that class will be btn, and I have another class, or btn dash bg, and I have another class of scroll dash up dash im, or min. Okay, hit enter, and then right here you can just leave that blank. So if we scroll down, we'll see that button. That's a nice button right there. Okay, kind of goes down, and we're going to scroll back up, and we need to add the button like right in here. Okay, so let's scroll back up. And right below this P tag, we're going to add the button right here. And if you can't find it, simply hit Control and F and then search for the hero dash paragraph. Okay, like this, and you'll find the hero paragraph. Okay, and so under that hero paragraph, we're going to add an a tag like we just did the other one, and we have a class, and that class will be btn. Okay, so inside of here, what you want to do is say mail, and you want to say to. And you want to add an email, just going to say testing like this at testing.com, even though that's not the email, but put your email right here. Okay. And so now we're going to go inside of that a tag. And so inside the a tag, we'll add a div, and now we're going to add a button. So enter button. And on that button, we're going to add a class, and that class will be btn, another class of scroll dash up like this. And so inside here, we're going to say contact me like that. Not content me, but contact me. All right. Okay. And so what we're going to do, we're going to add another button, and this button is really just the effect button. And so on this, we're going to add a class. It'll say btn dash bg, and then we'll add another class of scroll dash up dash min. Hit enter. And so now we should get that effect right on that button. There we go. So now we have the contact me button. I was trying to decide when I was going to go back and add that. So anyways, now that we have all of this done, we can go into the JavaScript and add these projects dynamically. Let's do that. All right. So from here, we're going to go to project others. So here. All right. And then we're going to say const other project container, or other project content container, like that. Other project container, other project content container. And here we're going to say equals document.get element by ID. So get element by ID. And in that, we're going to say other dash projects dash content dash container. Like that. That's a long one. All right. And so from here, what we're going to do is go down here, and we're going to go ahead and make our JavaScript object. So we're going to say const other project data. And just like we did on the last one, we're going to fill all of this in right here. So we'll fill all this information in with the title. So let's say title like this. I'm going to say GitHub website description And then we'll also say tools like this. All right, and tools should be in the right, so we'll leave it like this. All right, and so just like last time, I have some dummy content for you. And so if you go to the beginner files and this dummy website stuff, we're just gonna copy and paste it over here, and we'll do that real quick. All right, now that we have all of the projects in here, what we're gonna do is say const other projects list, like that, other projects list, and it's gonna be equal to other projects or other project data, and we're gonna map through this data. So say map like this, and I have an arrow function here, just like this. And what we're gonna do from here is say const tools list, just like we did on the other one, tools list, and it will be equal to data dot tools, and then we'll say map tool like that, and then we're going to return like we did last time, backticks li like this, put li in here, $, and we'll say tool like this. Okay, all right, the next thing that we're going to do is add our return here. So right here, what are we going to return? We're going to turn it backtick like this right here. All right, so right here you're going to take all of this info right here. So where's the other project scale in, take that, copy it, and then comment it out like this. And then we're going to go to the other project JS, and we're going to simply paste it in here. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do to make sure that this works all the way is go a little bit below this, and we're going to add a other projects button container dot insert adjacent HTML. So on that HTML, we're going to say after begin. And on after begin, what we're going to do is say other project list, and we're going to join it like that. And then we'll say like this, take this return statement, and inside of this right here, I'm gonna paste that return in here like that. Okay, so now we should have 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so make sure you put the return inside of this other project list. I went below that, so make sure you put it inside the other projects list. Okay, so now that we have that, we need the ability to hide that next project as well as put in our information here. So let's go ahead and put in the information. So right here on the website, we're going to say this href right here. We're going to put a $, and we're going to say data dot website. We'll scroll down a little bit more, and where you see the GitHub right here on this link, we're going to say data dot GitHub, and then we're going to add another one. So right here, and this will be just the website again. So we'll say data dot website like this, and then we're going to go to the title. So right here, title of the project, take that, and then we're going to say data dot title like this, and then we're going to add the description here. So right here we'll say data dot description like this, and then right here I'm going to take away both the LIs, and then we'll say data dot tools, or not data, sorry about that, it should just be a $, and we should say tools list like this dot join, and then the dot replace all, comma, place the comma or space like this. Okay, now if you look in here, we have the information in here, and you can make these descriptions a little bit longer, but we have the information in and everything is showing up. I do want to show you guys one thing that can help you out when you're trying to code in your careers and stuff like that when using JavaScript. So what we're going to do is, let's say for instance, you don't have a GitHub for one of these. So what I want to do is take away one of these. And so let's take away the GitHub in this second one, and I'm just going to leave it blank like this. Leave the GitHub blank. You can do this for the website too, but I'm going to show you the GitHub, and let's leave the GitHub blank for this one as well. Okay, so if somebody's scrolling down and you see a GitHub, and you can do this for this one as well, but I just wanted to show you here so you can learn this. You see how it's still there, but we don't have a GitHub. We don't have a GitHub for that one, right? So what you want to do right here on this GitHub, what we want to do is say question mark. And then now you want to say data.github if that data is available. But if not, just leave it blank. And so that will give the ability to shut the link off. And then we can do the same thing for this line right here. And so what we're going to do is just simply copy that so we can keep that copied. And so what we will do from here, add a $, curly brackets, and we're going to say data.github. So what this means is if we have the GitHub data, we want to insert this class right here, insert that. But if not, what we're going to do is just leave it blank like this. Okay. And so now if we scroll down, you see how if it has a GitHub, it has one. If not, it's gone and it's not there anymore. You can't click on the link or nothing like that. So that's just a quick little tip for today. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is add these buttons and I'll add the ability for the button to actually work. So if I click this view more button, it really doesn't do anything right now, but we're going to add the ability to make that do something. So right here, we're going to add some constants. So we're going to say const view more btn equals to document dot query selector. And on that query selector, we'll add the class of view dash more dash btn. Next, we're going to add a const other projects, and we'll say equal to document dot query selector all. So query selector all, and on this query selector all will be the class of other dash project. Next, we're going to add a view button text. So const view btn text equals to document dot get element by id, and the id will be view btn. The next thing we're going to do is add a const projects or projects to show equals to 2. And this will basically be the amount of projects that we want to show on the page. Next thing we're going to do is say const projects list equals an array of other projects. Next, below that, we'll add another const other total projects. All right, and so this is going to be equal to projects list dot length. The next thing we're going to do is add a const of view more text, and that view more text will just simply say view more. And then you guessed it, we're going to add a view less text. So view less text equals to view less. All right, let me scroll up a little bit. So now we need to add some conditional logic here. So we're going to say if other total projects is less than the projects to show, what are we going to do? We're going to just hide that button. So view more btn dot class list dot add, and we're going to add display dash none. All right, so we're going to hide that button if we don't have enough. So for right here, let's say if your total projects were the number of 0, and then you wouldn't have that button anymore, even though it's, you do have those many projects, the button will just simply go away. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is say projects list. And on project list, we're going to slice, and we'll slice the projects to show. And we will say for each, and for each item, I'm going to add an arrow here, and we're going to say item dot class list dot add the hot dash projects, or the hot projects, no s, sorry about that. The next thing we're going to do is say view more btn, and add an event listener. So add event listener, and that event listener will be a click. And so from here, we're going to add an arrow, scroll down a little bit. And so from right here, we're going to say project list dot slice. And so on that slice, we're going to add the projects to show. And on the projects to show, we'll say dot for each and item again. Going to go through these, and we're going to say item dot class list dot toggle, and we want to toggle the hot dash project like this. The next thing we're going to do is say if item dot class list dot contains, and if it contains the hide projects, so contains hide dash project, what are we going to do? So we're going to add some logic here. We're going to say view button text dot text content. Now that text content will say equals to view more text. So view more text. Okay. Else, I'm going to say view btn text, and we'll say dot text content will be equal to view less text, like that. Okay. So now that we have all this done, let's scroll down. And so we have two projects, say view more, and now it should say view less. All right. Now we have that done. What we're going to do is go over to the style.css. And so in the style.css, on my end, you see that it is blank, but on your end, it should already be filled out. I noticed that the time that it was taken to record this tutorial, I did not want to take too much of your time. And so if you see these and you want to go over these, you can do that. But for the About Me section and the Footer section, it should already be filled out for you on your end. So what I'm going to do now is take this section right here, and I'm simply going to go ahead and paste this. And so this is what you all are looking at. And so now I am on the same page as you guys. So now I'm going to go to the index.html, and right here, if you look inside of these starter files, you'll see a file, and that file should have something like this in About Me and Footer. So go ahead and copy that, and I want to paste it here. All right, and so that should give us our footer and our About Me section. And so there we go. So the footer and About Me section is done. And so I'm going to look through this code, and I'm going to tell you guys what you need to look for and what you need to add to your own. Okay, and I mean add your own stuff. So right here, if you look at this right here, this little intro, you can add your own intro here. These images here, you can add your own source here. And I'll scroll down some more. The link, it will be your email. Scroll down again, you need your email once again here, and the name like of your email right there. All right, and so we're scrolling down again, your GitHub, your Instagram if you have it, or you can delete it, Twitter if you have it, or you can delete it, and your LinkedIn if you have it, or you can delete it. Okay, so that's what you need to be out and look for. And this right here, I just kept my name since I created it, but just you can change that, you know what I'm saying? Just change it to your name, whatever your name is. Change that. And so we're looking at this, everything looks good. If I hit one of these buttons, so say that I hit projects, it would take me up to the projects and then take me to these projects. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is now work on the loading stuff. So the intersection observer, we want all this to be observed so it will kind of flow in. And then the last thing that we're going to do is fix the preloader and this project section right here. We want it to not be like this on desktop. See how it's kind of wide like this? We're going to add the special desktop version of this. So we're going to do all that right now. Let's go over to the app.js, and we're going to add some code here. So right here, we're going to add on scroll animations right here. Okay, let's go ahead and comment that out. Let's say on scroll animations. So what we're going to do is define some things. So it's const items to scroll up equal document dot query selector all. I'm going to select every single element that has the scroll up effect. So scroll up class. So if it has a scroll up class, we want to select it. The next thing we're going to do is say const items to zoom in equals document dot query selector all, and that query selector all will be scale dash in. The next thing we're going to do is add items to scroll up min, and we got to add a const here. So const I have to scroll up min, we'll say equals document dot query selector all, and on that query selector all, it will be dot scroll dash up dash min. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is say const all animation classes like this equals an array And so from here, we want to take all of these items right here. And all we're going to do is say dot, 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 paste that here, comma, dot, 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 items, to scroll up min, comma, dot, 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 items, to zoom in. So from here, we're going to add a const handle on scroll. And that const handle on scroll, we'll say entries inside of here. We're going to add an arrow, and right here, we're going to add entries. Okay. And we want to loop over each one of these entries. So we'll say for each entry, and we're going to add another arrow. And down here, we're going to say if entry dot is intersecting, if it is intersecting, and entry dot target dot class list dot contains the scroll up class. So if it contains scroll dash up, we want something to happen. And I'm going to drag this out a little bit so I can see more. So we want something to happen here. So we'll say entry dot target dot class list dot add. We want to add the scroll dash up dash animation here. All right. And we also want to say entry dot target dot class list dot remove the mode dash hidden, which we haven't added to anything yet, but we will a little bit later. And so the next thing that we're going to do is take this if statement and we're going to copy it. And we're going to simply paste it 3 more times, okay, or 2 more times, and just change the names to match up here with these item scrolls. So right here, we got scroll up, and we're going to say dash min, and we're going to add the dash min right here on the scroll up animation. The next thing we're going to do is add a scale in right here. So we're going to say scale dash in, and then we're going to add the scale in animation here. So scale dash in dash animation here. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is go outside of this function, and we're going to add our intersection observer here. So const, you can name this whatever you want, but I'm going to name it on scroll observer. And the on scroll observer will be new intersection observer. Okay, we're going to put our function here. So handle on scroll, and this is the function that we just created, and it's going to happen during this intersection observer. Okay. And so here we can define our options. So we're going to say root, and that root will be equal to null. The next thing we're going to do is change the threshold. So the threshold is basically how much of the image or the object that you are intersecting do you want it to go through before it actually executes this function. And so we're going to say 0.5 like this. All right. And so the next thing that we have to do is say all animation classes to get every single object that is being intersected. So we'll say for each. And so this for each will have item. We're going to add an arrow. And so right here, we're going to say on scroll observer dot observe. And so on this observe, we want to observe each item. Okay. And then we're going to say item dot class list dot add. And we're going to add the mode dash hidden because we want to hide the classes before they load in. Okay. And so now if I go over to, let's go ahead and check and see if this is working. And then now it is. Now you see everything popping up. I can refresh and you see things popping up as the screen is coming along. I can scroll down and things are popping up now like this. And you see things just coming on in from here. Good deal. Okay. And we may have missed a few, but we're going to go back and add those. So inside of the index.html, we're going to scroll up, and right here inside of this hero gradient, you can see right here, this says scroll up. This should say scroll up like this. Now let's see. Now it scrolls up as well. And so down here inside of the projects, we need to go to project highlights. And so on the project highlights, if we go to this section right on here, the project highlight content, we're going to add scroll dash in. And then we scroll down on the project image content, we're going to add scale dash in. And that is also a good thing. I'm glad that I kind of showed you this because now it shows you the power of having this done. You can add the scale in and scroll up to any project that you want. So now if we scroll in here, I'm just scrolling up And as I scroll down, which I may have to refresh, yeah, let's refresh. You see how it pops in now? Everything pops in. Coinvest, you pay. All right, everything is looking pretty good. All right, and so the next thing that we're going to do is add the dark mode for this project. So let's go ahead and go back to our app.js. And right here, we're going to begin with the dark mode. So let's go ahead and define what we need to. We're going to say const, and we're going to say toggle right here equals document dot get element by ID. And then we're going to say theme dash toggle. And by the way, we're going to have to go back to the index.html to actually define these things, but we'll go ahead and work on this. So we're going to say toggle button, and we're going to say document dot query selector, and it's just query selector by itself, and it'll be the class of toggle dash button like this. The next thing we're going to do is say const stored theme, and it's stored theme equals local storage dot get item. I'm going to get the item of theme here. All right. Or, and that's the or sign. We'll say window like this dot match media. And then in the match media, we're going to say preferred. So right here. And then we'll say prefers dash color dash scheme. And then we're going to say dark like this. All right. And then let me scroll over a little bit, and we'll say dot matches question mark dark, or say dark, go back dark, or, and then we'll say light. Go ahead and take this off of dark like this. All right. So we have this. The next thing we're going to do is go down, and we'll say if stored theme like this. If stored theme, we're going to say document dot document element, and then we'll say set attribute, and we'll set the attribute to data dash theme, and then data dash theme stored theme like that. Okay, and you see mine already went dark on the other side because my media likes a dark theme. Now we'll say another if statement, say if, and we'll say stored theme equals, and then if it equals dark, we want something to happen. We're going to say toggle button, and then we'll say toggle button dot class list dot add, and we're going to add ri dash sun dash fill, and we need to get that from remix icon, by the way, and we will do that in a little bit. Right here, now we're going to add toggle dot add event listener, and an event listener will be a click, and on that click we're going to add an arrow. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit. So right here we're going to say const, and it will say current theme. So const current theme equals document dot document element dot get attribute. So get attribute, and it will be data dash theme like this. All right. So now we're going to say let target theme equal light like that. All right. So if current theme equals light, then what we're going to do, we'll say the target theme equals dark like this. All right. So now it had to add just a few more lines. So we'll say toggle btn dot class list dot toggle, and we're going to toggle the ri dash sun dash fill here, and then we'll say document dot document element dot set attribute, and inside the set attribute we'll say data dash theme, and on the data theme we're going to say target theme like this. All right, one more step. We're going to say local storage dot set item, and we're going to set the item theme, and we'll set it to the target theme. All right, so now everything should be complete. And if you look at this project, it is already inside of the dark theme. Now we just need to add a way in order to get that dark theme. Over here, we'll add a button. So now we got to go back to the index.html and add that button. All right, we're going to scroll up until you see the hamburger menu. So right here, the hamburger menu goes down to here. And right before the header, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a div. And on that div, I'm going to add an ID. And that ID will be theme dash toggle. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. And I'm going to add a class. And that class will be dark dash light dash mode dash icon, like this. Hit enter, and inside of here we're going to add a class right here, and it's going to be that little I tag that you see from Remix Icon. So what we're going to do is go to Remix Icon. So let's go to Remix Icon, and so on Remix Icon, what we're going to do is add a moon. So we're going to say moon like this, and so we're going to scroll down, and you can kind of take any of these that you want to. So I'm just going to select this one, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it here. All right. And before this RI moon class, we need to add another class here. And so it will be called toggle dash btn, like this. All right. Let's go back. Now let's go to the A. And now you should see the button here at the top. By click, now it goes to the moon. Just like that. All right. Everything looks good here, and it's working in full screen view. All right, so now we really have only one more thing left, and that is to get this, to make this dynamic. And I will provide the code for you, but I want you to see exactly the change that it is going to do. All right, so from here, what we're going to do is go to the style.css, and I want you to scroll all the way down. And so when you do that, you should see the project containers and all of these things empty. And so we're going to go to our beginner files, and we're going to go to the desktop project CSS. And right here, we're going to just grab the CSS, copy it, and then we're going to go back. And so from here, we're going to scroll up, and I want to paste it in here just like that. All right. And so now all that should be filled up. And if I go out, it should look like this. And there we go. Everything is filled. Everything is working as intended. Okay. And so now the reason why I wanted to just show you that last was because these changes here are obtained and are done with these pseudo classes here. And if I scroll up to the pseudo classes, see how I got .png type of even, and it's going to select the second one, and it's just going to go from left to right, from left to right. And so I just want you guys to know that if you wanted to change it later on, or if you wanted to add more, you'll know that it's going to always go from left to right and left to right. Okay. With that being said, I do want to say this right here. If you're using a picture, you see how this logo is off a little bit. If you go to the logo CSS, let's find it here. We're going to type in logo. You may have to change it and make it move a little bit depending on your needs. So if you go to footer logo, or if you any of these, see how this says right here, you may have to change it a little bit. So if I say 2, I'm going to go down to the footer, and I need this to move a little bit. Let's say 3. And it's almost centered. I'm going to say 3.2. And let's go 3.5. Let's see what we got. Okay, that looks a whole lot better at 3.5. So that means I need to come up here, take this right here. I'm just going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to type in logo. Let's go to the first one here. And so if I go to the logo here, if I type that in, and then it moves over to the right, and everything is good to go. Okay. And so depending on the photo that you have, you may have to change that in order to get it aligned correctly. That's another key note that I want to throw out there. All right. Okay. Last but not least, we are inside of the index.html, and we need to bring the loader back. So right now it loads up like this. We want to add that preloader back. So take this right here and uncomment it. And so now you have the text back, and now we're going to go to this class. We're going to add loading. And then the last thing we need to do is take this div right here, the content div, and right here, you want to exit that out like this. and you want to scroll all the way down to the end of the page. So once you get to the end of the page, after main, you want to place that div here, and then you simply want to format the document, and everything should be up and running. All right, everything looks good. Make it big. Let's refresh. And there it is. All right, everything is done here. Now all we need to do is deploy and upload this, or upload and deploy this to Netlify. So let's go ahead and go over to Netlify. Okay, on Netlify, this is a free hosting website. If you don't have an account, create an account, and I will see you inside. If you do have an account, just go ahead and log in. All right, now that we're logged in, all we're gonna do is go to add a new site. We're gonna add a new site, and there are two ways you can do this. You can deploy manually, or you can import an existing project. I'll show you how to do both. First, we're gonna import as an existing project, okay? So we're gonna go back to our GitHub, and so right here, mine is already initialized, but if you have GitHub connected to VS Code, go ahead and upload this project to VS Code, and you will see something that says initialize repository or something like that, or deploy to GitHub. Just deploy that, and then just leave a comment or something like that, and then deploy that. All right, so deploy it to GitHub. You want to go back to Netlify, and then you want to import an existing project. So import an existing project, go to GitHub, and then log into your GitHub. Mine is already authorized, and you will see the project, whatever you named it, it will be here. Click it, and then just go to deploy site. However, if you cannot do the GitHub way, the way to do it is to simply go back to portfolio, go to add new site, deploy manually, grab the folder that it was in that we created earlier. So go to desktop, go to portfolio, hit upload, and then just hit upload again, and it's going to upload those files inside of Netlify. All right, and so now all we have to do is wait for it to upload, and it should be pretty quick. There it is. Both are uploaded, as you can see the little backgrounds, and so you can rename these and name them something else. So I'm gonna click here, and what I'm gonna do is go to site settings. On the site settings, actually go to site overview. On the domain settings, scroll down, and you go to options, edit site name, and then you can change the name, or you can add your own personal domain. For this, we're going to just say Avery, and we're going to say Patel, and we're going to say YTT, YouTube tutorial site. Okay, so now if you want to see this project, just go to Avery Patel YTT netfly.app, and you can find that tutorial, and it should be here. Avery Patel, here we go, and it loads up pretty nicely. All right, so with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, if you enjoyed it and you made it to the end, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It really does help me a lot, and I do appreciate you for watching this entire thing through. If you want to see more tutorials like this, I can come up with more JavaScript tutorials. I come up with React tutorials for you guys. Let me know down below in the description, and also comment down below if you watched it, man. I would love to know who actually completed this thing, and I would love to see it. So leave your comments and all that good stuff. I'll see y'all in the next video.